like to pull our poll up on the screen. So we're going to be doing a periodic live update throughout the luncheon, and this is going to be on if you have confidence in our Wyoming elections. So there's two ways to respond to this poll. You can either go to the pollev.com/Cheyenne Chamber 198, or you can do just send a text to that Chamber 198 to 37607, and then you can give an option A, B, or C, and that'll be throughout the luncheon today. So we would appreciate everyone's, if they could do the poll, that would help us out quite a bit. So now I'd like to please welcome me in joining Shannon Buller. She's the Executive Director of the Wyoming Governor's Council on Development and Disabilities. Shannon.
Hi, how are you all doing? I am Shannon Buller. I am the Executive Director of the Wyoming Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to come before you and talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. So in the 1970s, the DV Act came into being, and during that time, every state was required through the act to have a DV council, and Wyoming DV's council is a 27-member group, governor appointed from people across the state, 9 of who are people representing people with developmental disabilities, 9 are representing family members of people with developmental disabilities, and 9 are non-governmental or governmental agencies that support and give services to people with developmental disabilities. So we are driven by what we call a 5-year plan, and I am not going to go into the weeds on all of that because we'd be here for a long time. But it drives a lot of the events and programs that we do. For example, we have our Bright Ideas grant, we have outreach and training, we do a lot of collaborative work. We also administer the state's Y-Able program and various other annual events. For example, some of our events are the Wyoming Developmental Disabilities Conference. Actually, this year it's going to be in Casper, and there's a huge amount of different topics that we talk on during that time. We also celebrate October as, and I'm sorry, the acronyms often kill me, so hang in there. The October Disability Employment Awareness Month. So we spend the whole month just talking about disability employment opportunities. We work and collaborate with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. We also work with a group called YSAIL, which is the Wyoming Association of People Supporting Employment First. Another event that we're actually celebrating right now is March, is the National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Again, acronyms, it's what makes government go around, I think. So during that time, we're going to have a leadership training for people with developmental disabilities, including a panel and roundtable discussions on how to advocate for the needs of people in Wyoming and their families who have developmental disabilities or work with people with developmental disabilities. Part of our 5-year plan includes or focuses on areas of emphasis, which include education, transportation, housing, recreation, childcare, quality assurance, and the last 2, which is why I'm up here speaking, which is community living and employment. We do not provide direct services to people. That is not our job. We provide information, we provide referrals, we do training and outreach on a huge amount of different topics, from ADA compliance to job coaching, to job carving, to customized employment. And if we don't know how to help businesses make that connection with people with developmental disabilities, we will find the people who can help you. So I want to point out that we are not an anomaly as we join the the chamber for this. There are other groups in here that provide those services who can also answer those questions. So, and I can't see much with the lights, so I'm hoping they'll raise their hand and let me know. But Magic City Enterprises, are they here? Yeah. We have YSAIL, which is another acronym. That's the Wyoming State Advocates and Leadership, is a member of the chamber. Treasure Abilities, who just had a ribbon cutting last month, became a new chamber member. We do a lot of work with Express Employment, and they have been an anchor on a lot of our events on and getting employment information out, so we thank them for their help. So together, we can answer your questions, and that is what we are here to do. As I mentioned, is my last plug. So as I mentioned, March is Developmental Disability Awareness Month, and we are going to have what we call an artist gala right here in this room on March 26th. We're inviting you all to please come join us. This is a time to not just talk about employment, but to look at the talent that the artists with developmental disabilities have in the community and across the state. It's going to be a fun time, so hopefully you can join us. I just want to kind of close out to say that we have contact information we put on the table. We have our website, we have social media. I have my staff, Alita Zimmerman and Kayla Green, who can also help. We are small but mighty, and so if you need help, please just give a shout. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon. Greatly appreciate you. So we'd also like to extend a special thank you to our sponsors for today's luncheon. So our silver sponsor is Treasure Abilities, LLC. Our bronze sponsors for this luncheon is Advanced Comfort Solutions, Modern Roofing, MHP LLP, and WYO Support. Thank you all for your support. What we'd like to do next would not be possible without all of you guys. So we'd like to bring up Jesse with Jonah Bank, who is going to be our red carpet committee to introduce our newest members.
All right. I promise I have a script too, so my introduction's gotten shorter. I want to make sure to recognize all of our red carpet committee members. If you could please stand up for me, that'd be great. We are ambassadors of the Chamber of Commerce and also known as the Welcoming Committee. Our committee hosts red ribbon cuttings to welcome new members, learn about their business, and make connections. We present the Beautification Awards a few times a year to those who improve their sites in Cheyenne. And we help with the chamber luncheons, including introducing new members, as I am today. And if you are interested in learning more about the Red Carpet Committee, see one of us or talk to Mary Jane at the chamber. Thank you, guys. All right, our first new member is Lovis Engineering, Chris and Kristen. In March of 2021, Chris left his partnership and firm of 11 years to form Lovis Engineering PC, a full-service civil engineering firm in Cheyenne, specializing in land development. This week, Lovis is celebrating the one-year anniversary of being a business and leading many successful projects within our community. Chris is from Cheyenne, where he is proud to be raising their children, Rhett and Layton, and with his wife of 10 years, Kristen. Please welcome Lovis Engineering. Next up, we have Modern Roofing. We have Cameron Costanen, Aaron Campbell, Garrett Grams. They're project managers. The Modern Roofing team are residential and commercial contractors. They have over 50 years of experience in commercial, 35 years experience in residential, and they settle for nothing less than perfect premium roof without a premium price tag. Experience the industry difference. Please welcome Modern Roofing. Next up, we have Heidi Washburn, State Farm Agent. Heidi Washburn, Lexi, and team members Lexi DeForge, Kaylee Gray, and Jason Hoppe. Heidi has been an agent in State Farm for 5 years and is the top 7% of all agents in the country. Her team's passion is people, and they strive to provide exceptional service to their customers. Heidi just moved to Cheyenne and opened her second office. She and her team are excited to get involved with the community, becoming trusted insurance and financial advisors and protecting the lives of others. She took over for Ron Olson when retired. Her office location is at Dell Range and Converse. Please welcome Heidi Washburn, State Farm Agency. Next up, we have Gateway Construction and Gateway Homes. We have Jason Stephen, managing member, and then Brittany Langley, Jeanette Wallace, Spencer Foster, Eric Adams, Sean Quinn, Tyson Pence, and Kevin Miller. Many people recognize Gateway Construction for their residential buildings, but they also have a growing multifamily and commercial portfolio. Because of Gateway's continued growth, they find it necessary to create a clear division of each category. We are proud to announce that the branding of the residential sector of Gateway Homes, with the same team of experienced professionals, they look forward to unveiling new branding while upholding the values of standards of Gateway has practiced for years. Please welcome Gateway Construction and Gateway Homes. That one's a big group. I will give them a little bit to get back to their seat. They said they're going to do a song and dance, but I didn't see any song and dance. Next up, we have Noble Biz Inc., Steve Betterman and Jennifer Waldy. I did say that last name correctly. Noble Biz is a 20-year-old corporation that has been leading telco carrier to the contact center industry, serving all of the North America. It handles in excess of a billion minutes of voice traffic annually. In addition, Noble Biz is a software developer of a contact center phone systems. Noble Biz has been a California-based company that moved to Wyoming in 2021 and intends to contribute to the local economy. Please welcome Noble Biz Inc. Next up, we have Pete's Builders. We have Chad Dorenzo, CEO, Joy Dorenzo, President, Katie Anderson, Executive Assistants, Janiyah Mills, Alfred Spatz, and Scott Powers. Pete's Builders is on track to be Wyoming's leading commercial and residential roofing company, locally owned and operated, properly licensed and insured. We are certified in multiple materials and ensure manufacturing warranties. Please welcome Pete's Builders. Next up, we have Hawthorne Tree. Susan Allen is the owner. She is a Cheyenne native and also a Central graduate. Sorry if there's any rivalries that need to go on there, but I've heard anytime that topic comes up. She is also a manager of 20 years of McIntyre Gardens Center. At Hawthorne Tree, we invite you to take a moment for yourself, browse the herbal apothecary selection of herbs, teas, and spices, and handcrafted bath and body products. All drinks are made in-house with custom blends of herbs, teas, and spices. Consult with an herbalist. Drop in for meditation anytime during business hours, and we welcome you to connect with our community over tea. Please welcome Hawthorne Tree. Well, next up, we have Hometown Chiropractic. We have Dr. Ryan Walton and his wife, Sandy Walton. They have been in Cheyenne for 10 years now, strive to get patients out of back pain, doing the things that they love to do as fast as possible. Pain isn't any fun, so why live with it every day? Let's get you feeling better and faster. Please welcome Hometown Chiropractic. Next up, we have Don Hollingshead, Republican candidate for Laramie County Sheriff, and his wife, Sue. Don has served with the Laramie County Sheriff's Office for the past 27 years. He currently serves as the jail captain. He oversees the jail's multi-million annual budget and was instrumental in creating a new jail procedures necessary to ensure the safety of the inmates and staff during COVID pandemic. Please visit the campaign website at donhollingshead4sheriff.com and find him on Facebook. Remember to vote for Don Hollingshead, Laramie County Sheriff, on August 16th and November 8th. Please welcome Don Hollingshead. Next up, we have Ken Garf. We have Kevin Harris, General Manager, Eric Brooks, General Sales Manager. Ken Garf, Ford, Toyota, and Hyundai are proud to serve the Cheyenne community. Their first priority is people. That's why their motto is, "We hear you." By listening to the people, putting their needs first. The motto extends beyond their dealership too. They strive to give back in any way they can because they know their success wouldn't be possible without the support of the community. Please welcome Ken Garf. Next up, we have Funky Monkey Collectibles and Thrift Store with Tony Wilder as the owner. At Funky Monkey Collectibles and Thrift Store, I can say that 5 times fast. That's gonna be fun. They have vintage and secondhand items for sale. Is your home getting cluttered? Are you ready to minimize possessions? They can take care of unwanted items, property and estate move-outs, junk removal. They've got this. Check out their Facebook page and contact information, or stop by 3411 Cleveland Ave. Please welcome Funky Monkey Collectibles and Thrift Store. And last but not least, we have Sanford's Grub and Pub. We at Sanford's, and we are here back with the Chamber. We are excited to serve our community with the best food in town. We have a beautiful newly remodeled banquet room that is great for both adults and kids alike. Please welcome Sanford's Grub and Pub, Katrina Beardsley and Cassandra Cotton.
I don't know where my staff digs up all the new members, but I'm certainly proud of them for what they do on that. It's a great day in Cheyenne, and it's so good to see everyone. We're so lucky to live where we live, in a free country, in a place where we didn't wake up this morning and war was at our doorstep. You know, Cheyenne's always been a part of that story with a strong military base here. Dean, Bill, thank you guys for being here today. While the rest of everybody's in Florida, right? But we are a part of that story, that strategic deterrent story that we've been telling you about, GBSD, as it comes online, the new missile system. We thought we might get a new name today, but we didn't. So we'll keep waiting for what we call it. But regardless of the name, regardless of the missile, our men and women in uniform are sitting out there in the missile field 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, defending our freedom, keeping things like what's happening in Ukraine right now not happening here. And that's the way we'd like to keep it. So thank you guys for your contribution and your commitment to this nation, to our community. We thank you very much. And on days like today and the way this situation is, it just makes us appreciate it a little bit more. We'll tell Kathy it took her leaving town to get a standing ovation out of the chamber. Well, I hope everyone's having a great month. You know, the legislature is in session. They'll be here about another week, and then everybody can be safe again in Cheyenne. They've had a few challenges along the way, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But the first thing I'd like to mention to you today is last month, if you were here at the luncheon, I challenged you guys pretty hard, right? Because we had some racial issues popping up in Cheyenne, and I asked you to go back and talk to your businesses, to go back and talk to your children, and make sure that the message was being heard that, you know, doesn't matter whether it's in our kids in our community or it's military members in the community, we are a place that embraces folks of all colors, creeds, religions, etc. So here's what I'd like to say today. Thank you. You did that. We have got big feedback about that in our office. So I appreciate that very much. The other thing, as you know, the mayor was trying to pass an ordinance, and for whatever you read in the newspapers, let me tell you what the ordinance says. It's only a couple paragraphs long. And basically what it says is that we're not going to put up with you getting together and going after a group of people in a violent manner. You don't get to put that on TV. You don't get to print that on documents. and you don't get to do it yourself, right? That's all it said. I am proud to report to you that we're halfway through that process. City Council has taken 2 votes. So far, only 1 human has voted against that very important ordinance for Cheyenne to take a stand to say, we support these people. So give yourselves a round of applause because you have done a nice job on it. To get serious for a moment about the legislature, if you've been watching, we've got some legislators from Cheyenne that we really need to be proud of, right? So as we've been talking about redistricting, we've had folks stand firm to make sure that our representation is solid, right? So, you know, I didn't know we were doing a bad thing in Cheyenne when we were growing, right? So, but when you grow, it's kind of that one man, one vote thing. You get a little extra representation, and there are folks that have really tried to push back on that. I would say in the Senate, you know, you have Senator Ellis and Senator Pappas and Senator Nethercott. They have fought for this. So far, our House side, they've been really solid. We've got a couple of folks that haven't been so solid. So I would challenge you to go look at those maps and take a look at what's gonna happen. They're talking about that today in the House caucus. I assume next week they'll start voting on that, but there's a lot to lose for Laramie County. You know, here's one of the interesting things when you think about it. So I've been telling a lot of the elected officials I run into this, that if you're not from here and you're worried about Laramie County having too much power as far as elections, guess who that power is? If you look at where our growth comes from, it's kids coming from all the rest of Wyoming to Cheyenne to get a good job. So they're cheating their own kids and grandkids out of a vote. So keep your eye on that. We've been writing about it. You'll see other information from us, and you need to know what's happening to you. I will tell you that as a result of some of the environment that's going on, the Chamber Board, we are looking into how to support candidates in a more fundamental way, working with chambers around the state right now, and the Chamber Board voted last month. We'll start a business pact in the state of Wyoming. We are one of the few states that don't have a business pact that is related to chambers. We're working on that right now. So at some point, we'll be asking you for some money to be putting into that pact so that we can support those but we have to do more than just say you're doing a good job, right? If we mean it, we have to give people money to run for office. We have to find people to run for office. So moving on, enough of that, right? So I'd like to recognize one of the ways we manage the chamber is we have people that stay hooked up with us, that are committed to what we're doing, committed to the military and keeping it here, committed to our advocacy efforts. So we have some new national partners that I want to recognize today. So the first one is Ken Garf. Guys, thank you so much. I mean, Spradley and now Ken Garf. When we started trying to pick up the military effort back in 2011, and we sat down with Spradley Barr, now Ken Garf, they were one of the first ones to sign up, right? They said, it's important. We're going to make sure it's taken care of. So thank you very much, guys. Also, Gateway Construction. I know they were recognized today, but thank you, guys. We're going to need a lot of houses out of you. I looked this morning, there are 90 houses on the MLS, I think. We only need about 4,400 more so that we have a healthy housing market. So we'll try to do the best we can on supply chain, and you guys keep up the good work. Welcome, and thank you very much. So, and the next folks I'd like to recognize that are new national partners are Black Hills Energy. Lori Farkas never quite gets away from the chamber, do you? We just keep hooked up. Thank you guys for all you've done. I mean, you've been in Cheyenne from the beginning, and I think you were close to one of our charter members if you weren't one. So thank you, and I thank you for all you do for us. Also, Pete's Builders. So we need some work out of you guys too. So I know you can't find enough help. We're going to work on that. So thank you, Pete's Builders, for being here today, and thank you for your support of the chamber. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. We also have a new Wyoming partner, Badger Daylighting. So Badger, not sure if you're here today, but, oh, are we here? Oh, very good. Thank you guys for being here. And I've been in Cheyenne a few years now, and a great community asset. We appreciate it very much. So the other thing I'd like to tell you is that anybody interested in GBSD, working with GBSD, there will be a phone call on March 17th for contractors to get on. They're going to do these calls quarterly, so you can find out information that you need. But that project continues to move, and if you want to be a part of it, this is a good way to find out next steps that you need to do to be able to handle that. So we'd like to announce today, we've been talking about how we build workforce, right? And so I think Dr. Crespo is here. And hi, Dr. Crespo, good to have you here today. But we want to start working on internships and externships, right? So our businesses hosting students, hosting teachers in the summer and in time that they can to get into our businesses, to draw the school system and our businesses closer together so we can find employees, so we can tell students about the opportunities that are available out there. So you'll be getting an email next week, and it'll ask you, hey, I'd be interested in this. We don't have all of the details wound up about that, but please be on the lookout for that and participate or indicate your participation if it's something you'd like to do. So Dr. Crespo, also thank you for your defense of our children on this racism issue. I know that from the military point of view as well, those military kids that move in here from all over and of all different colors, thank you for your support of them. So I'd like to ask Jess Ryan to come to stage. We've been working on something very exciting for the last couple of years to try to create a retirement program for small businesses, right? To be able to retain employees. So I'll let Jess tell you about it, and welcome, Jess.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dale. So I am here to announce today that the Chamber has started working on a new 401k retirement plan benefit for Chamber members. So that we also, kind of most important part of it is we expect it to drastically reduce costs. Employers pay for their 401k plans as well as reduce employee costs for their 401k plans. Why do we expect it to save Chamber members money? If you have a 401k now, you're paying based on your number of employees participating and assets held within the plan. The Secure Act passed by Congress at the end of 2019 makes it possible for the Chamber to sponsor a multiple employer 401k plan with member businesses 401k plans under the same umbrella and the same cost structure. So instead of each business paying fees and participants paying fees based on the size of their individual plans, the group will get pricing based on all the plans operating under the Chamber as a plan sponsor. So we expect this to be significantly lower in cost to both businesses and their employees. And we plan to start the multiple employer 401k plan January 1st of 2023. So we're seeking interest now to know which businesses want to be included and what potential cost savings they could have by joining up with a plan like this. So if you're a business owner who wants more information, you can contact me. There will also be some follow-up from the Chamber directly to gauge interest from the membership and provide feedback and answer questions down the line. So also, if you're an employee of a business and you'd like to make sure that your business owner knows about that, not a bad thing to speak to HR, speak to the employer, make sure that they know that this could be a way to save the business some money. So thanks so much for the opportunity to introduce the topic. I know that that's not a ton of information, but we do look forward to sharing a lot more information in the future.
So we'll do our free lunch drawing today. You can't put your own card in there, Stephen. All right, Irene Parsons from Express. So if you'll see my staff. So I used to always tell you that there's enough money to take this Chamber staff out for lunch, but we're going to start being specific. Tacos and margaritas is what we want. There's $166 in it today. You can't put your own ticket in on this one either. 027107. 027107. Must be present to win. Got it? Brenda Burkle. We'll bring it to you, Brenda. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a wonderful month. Please welcome your chairman, Stephen Fotiades, to the stage.
Well, thank you, Dale. Greatly appreciate everyone. So our speaker for today's luncheon is truly a friend and ally of business in Wyoming who needs no introduction in this room. Secretary Buchanan has a long track record of building Wyoming that is a business-friendly and a competitive state. His work for both the secretary and as a legislator, has left a positive mark on our economy and our state as a whole. We also owe Secretary Buchanan a huge thank you for his work to ensure Wyoming's election process is safe, secure, and fair. We are pleased to welcome a champion for our business and Secretary of our state, Ed Buchanan.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for that wonderful introduction. With you here today, and really thanks to all of you in attendance, promoting your business community. Good for all kinds of obvious reasons. So thank you for all that you do. We're going to tilt this up a little bit. All right. So today I have with me my elections director, Mr. Kai Schoen, as well. And as I was looking at the poll, I noticed that there was 25% of the folks who were fairly confident in our elections, which is not a bad number. But the reason it stands out to me is because people have legitimate questions about elections. This started in 2016 when there were allegations that the Russians were involved in our elections and influenced our election. That has also followed in the 2020 election. And so what I say to you is we are no longer in a time where we take elections for granted, if we ever did, but we certainly know that people are more interested in elections. They want to know more about how elections are conducted so that they can have confidence in their election system. And so when I saw the 25%, I think that that's really indicative of what I see when I travel around Wyoming. People have legitimate questions because they've seen these things in the news over the last 4 years. They've seen some information out there that they don't know quite how to process. And it's really an education effort. And I think it's great that people do have at least a healthy amount of skepticism about their elections. And here's why. When the allegations came out, I said to my staff, and they certainly agreed, we are not going to just dismiss out of hand any allegation about Wyoming elections. Now, I'm not here to talk about what other states did or didn't do. I'm here to talk about what I know, which is Wyoming elections. And I wanted to point out to you, it's really interesting. One of the things that when we talk about elections is that really all 50 states, there are some similarities, but all 50 states do things a little bit differently. And there is a modicum of security in that process because you have, in essence, 50 different systems out there, which makes them decentralized, and it makes them much less susceptible to hacking and attack. And so what I have for you today is a presentation that we developed because I went out and I listened and I saw what allegations were being made about not just elections in general and across the United States, but also what I was hearing about Wyoming's election. And so our idea was to go out and take every allegation, distill those down into the main ones, and then go out and tell folks, okay, why is this not a possibility? How do we do business in elections? How can you feel confident in elections? How can you have optimism about your election? And how can you trust that your elections in Wyoming have integrity and have security. So this is what we developed here. So here's what I want to do today, and this is what I've said about elections with my commitment to Wyoming. I want to clarify what the elections process is about for you. I'm going to address and define for you some mis, dis, and malinformation, provide you some facts about the process in Wyoming and how we undertake elections, and share a few of my ideas that I have going forward. Because I will tell you from the get-go, elections evolve, things change. Just like I told you, things had changed from 2016 to 2020. Well, those dictate change, and we've got some legislative ideas to address things. So our election code dates back to 1973, and since I came into office in 2018, I pledged to update that code, and we have done that every year since I've been in office. And as we move forward, we will continue to adapt and evolve our election systems to not only contemporary society, but also threats that arise from time to time. This is just a quote. I think together, when we talk about education, we can, and we deal in truths, we can restore voter confidence and strengthen trust in our government. Because I always said, even when I was campaigning, if you lose trust in your elections or your government structure, and that could be anything, that can be law enforcement, that can be everything. If folks lose trust in that, you really don't have much else left. So it's important. So myth number one, Wyoming elections were rigged. I don't know how many of you ever really heard this, but we certainly have heard that. The results were inaccurate. The election was not conducted with integrity. We will address that. The facts are our results were accurate. They were conducted with integrity. And for 2020, we utilized the latest in technology in new voting equipment. And I will talk more in detail about that in just a moment. Myth number two, Wyoming machines were connected to the internet. This is not true. We are not connected to the internet. The election results are not susceptible to being hacked or manipulated by nefarious actors. And we'll talk a little bit about what packet captures mean that you see on the screen there. And so this is just an illustration of what a packet capture might look like if you were connected to the internet, which we are not. So here's the definition of what a packet capture is. You intercept data basically moving over the air if you have certain types of connections. I will tell you that Wyoming voting machines, we do not have the software, nor do we have the hardware to have internet connectivity. That is a possibility if we wanted to do that, and some states do not do that. But I will talk in a little bit about why I chose not to do that and how you can see that we don't do that. On top of that, counties, of course, have strict physical security protocols. The tabulation machines can only be accessed by authorized county personnel. And then I've repeated that last line many times. Just I want to hammer that home. We're not connected. So here's our elections process. We start off, not a lot of people know, and this is the education piece of this. We start off with a pre-election audit. We use a test deck of ballots to test the machines, basically to see, we have a predetermined result. Do they give us back that result? Are they reading correctly? That process is open to the public, by the way. So if any of you want to go to your county clerk and say, when are you doing the pre-election test? You're welcome to do that and observe it. And I think that would give you a large amount of confidence in our systems. After that, we have encrypted media sticks. Those are what are in the machines that when you place your vote, all the votes and ballots are recorded onto that encrypted memory stick. That is transferred at the end of the election night via county personnel, or sometimes we use law enforcement. In Wyoming, we have a lot of rural areas where there might be 8 voters, believe it or not, in somebody's house. And so we have law enforcement help us out with that. So we bring that back, and the results from the stick are transferred to a hardened computer. That machine is not connected to the internet. It's not utilized for another purpose. And so you can see there the transfer process includes a data integrity, validation, and logic test to ensure that the results are not transferred twice. So this is where it gets actually kind of basic. And there is a lot of security in things that are basic and simplistic. It generates a PDF. The PDF is basically your election results. PDF, as you know, is a piece of paper. It's a portable document format. And what we do is we transfer that to a regular stick, and then we take that to a computer, and that is when the results are transmitted from all 23 counties to my office. okay? At the end of election night, we get an email from the county clerks. After we get the email, we call them and we say, we received an email from you. This is what we received. Is this what you sent? Now, this is a rather old-fashioned way of doing things. I told you I would tell you a little bit about this. So we could have been connected to the internet. A lot of states do what is called real-time reporting. The media a lot of times calls my office and gets a little frustrated because I don't know the latest and greatest that's happening in Bighorn County or in Crook County. We don't know the results until they are sent to us via the email at the end of election night. And we don't have real-time reporting because we wanted to do it the old-fashioned way where we get it and then we call them up and verify. We could have had that. We would have internet connectivity. We would have systems that do that. But number one, it was expensive. Two, the counties weren't really interested in it. And three, we weren't really that interested in it either because again, the old-fashioned way and what works for Wyoming, a good example of how we don't want the feds meddling in how we do elections here. We have a system that fits Wyoming well for our population that also makes it very safe. That's why we do that. Finally, we have a post-election audit. And what that is it's kind of a repeat of what happened at the beginning. A sample of the machines is again taken and they run a test deck through there and make sure again that those same machines that were just used in your election are still counting correctly. And in a moment, I will talk about another more robust post-election audit that I am piloting right now with the county clerks and that we expect to roll out for your 2022 election. So myth number 3, Wyoming voting machines can still be breached. Sure, anything's possible, right? But not probable at all. There are security protocols in place that prevent that from happening. Basically, what you're talking about there is physical security. And I mean, the simple stuff, you keep the machines locked up before the election, and you're talking about the cybersecurity aspect here. We have meticulous documentation of the locks and tamper-evident seals. You can easily see, if you have ever seen evidence tape or anything like that, or a box that's been sealed, if you open it up and tear the tape, you can easily see that it has been tampered with. Here's just a couple pictures of some of the things that we use across the state to lock up those machines and the ports in those machines to make sure that they are not physically breached. Myth number 4, Wyoming uses Dominion voting equipment. If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Even before 2020, there were only 3 counties that used Dominion voting equipment. But for 2020, we have equipment that is wholly sourced from Election Systems and Software, ES&S, which is based in Omaha, Nebraska, an American company, and that was for all 23 counties. So let's talk a little bit about the information you see and the difference between mis, dis, and mal. Misinformation, false, but not created with the intention of causing harm. People are just wrong. Disinformation is something that's deliberately created to mislead, harm, or manipulate. And finally, you have malinformation that can be kind of based on fact, but the truth is shaded a little bit so that the whole story is not told to plant seeds of doubt, used out of context to mislead or manipulate. So I'm going to give you some examples of some of these things. So this was our original ES&S contract. And this is going to speak to whether or not we had modems, internet connectivity, and the hardware and software necessary to carry that out. So we had a preliminary quantity list, as you can see here, and it says the final quantity list, including quantities agreed upon by the parties, shall be incorporated into this contract by this reference. So there would be a final quantity list. I equate this because, and here's why I'm showing you contract language. You have the Public Records Act. We get a request that says, show us your contract. So we give those out. And that's great because it's transparent, but it has a side to it that you really have to be careful with because people read something and they don't read that there's going to be a final quantity list. And then they look at just the initial quantity list and they say, aha, you're lying to me. You do have internet connectivity because I see up there that you were sourcing and pricing modems, for example. And I equate this to back in the day when I was growing up, when we would order a new pickup, It didn't come with a radio necessarily. It didn't come with air conditioning, probably. It didn't come with power doors and power windows and all that, right? What you did though, is you might ask the dealer, how much would a really nice pickup with all these things have? Can I have a radio? Can I have a stereo? And so you wanted to have an idea of what your budget would allow you to do. Doesn't mean you ended up with all of those things, but you priced it out. And that's basically what we did here. So we're going to try to preliminary list. And here's where people looked at it and they said, modems were purchased per the contract. And you see here, we did price out Verizon wireless modems. You can see that it cost about $59,000 to do that. And there's the original equipment list over there that has that. Next, we have election management system hardware for modeming counties. That'd be the other piece, to the tune of $258,000. So this would have been about a $300,000 proposition. So here comes the amendment at the end. The purpose of this amendment is to increase the total contract dollar amount to $5,464,618.00. And that's because when we finalized our quantity list for the county, they may have wanted more tabulating machines or something like that. But the more important thing is B, supplement attachment C with attachment C1 to incorporate final quantities and payment schedule agreed upon by the parties. So you will see our final quantity list contains none of the software or hardware that would be necessary to give us internet connectivity for our election system. So we do not have that. But this is an explanation to basically bust that myth that I hear out there that we are connected to the internet, even though I run around and tell people we're not connected to the internet. So an example of disinformation. We received claims of election fraud from the public based on information provided by three main sources. You had Mike Lindell, who we've called the pillow guy. And in full disclosure, I have one of those pillows and I like it very much, but I'm not so crazy about him anymore. Dr. Douglas Frank and Seth Keschel. And I'll go over, to save time, I won't go through all of those individuals, but I want to give you an example of disinformation. So I'm going to play you a little video here.
Go to the next one. Wyoming, you got, now this, here's another one. Just a small population, there are 120,000 that Donald Trump won by in the big lie. But the truth is he won by 140,000. Look at that. Wyoming, you have an audit done in Wyoming. Let's just say it. You're Wyoming and you're an all red state. Why wouldn't your legislatures and your governor, you just seen this now, and your secretary of state and your attorney general, do an audit. Do an audit. Just because you won and you're a red state, if you've got everyone's a Republican there, just do an audit. See if Dominion will let you do an audit. Why don't you ask Dominion? Seems like we have to have their permission. Seems like the media won't protect them. Should we have, Dominion, could we please have permission to audit the machines? Wyoming would like to do it because you stole 20,000 votes in a state, that was all red. Let's go to the next one.
What did he say? See if Dominion will let you do an audit, and 20,000 votes is the number. So first off, I'll point out that at the time this was going on, their own cybersecurity expert says they can't prove the claims that the Chinese had meddled in our election. And here's some of the quotes from the individual that said, our team said, we're not going to say this is a legit claim if we don't have confidence in the information. And I just point out, because I'm a political science major back in the day, this story came from the Washington Times, not the Washington Post. So, I mean, I think that adds some credibility to that. The other thing he said, Dominion stole 20,000. What's wrong? Who knows what's wrong with that statement right off the bat? That's right. There was no Dominion equipment in 2020. Nice try. And then the 20,000 votes. But what's interesting about this is taken directly off the slide I just showed you, is, yeah, it's a 20,000 vote steal. And their own numbers come up with an 11,222 vote difference there. Now, I'm going to take you to the bottom of the slide. That graph, and that's going to get blown up in just a second so you can actually read it. But when we kept saying, well, where's proof of this? You haven't used 20,000, 11,000. What supports this at all? And we get this chart at the bottom, and that's all 23 counties. And basically they had a target IP, which is basically a computer, and a computer that was trying to talk to the target and steal votes. Okay. And so what we finally got a hold of was this chart then that just was exactly double of what they had at their cyber symposium. So total inconsistencies. But it gets worse. Example of disinformation. So here's the proof, and I put that in quotes, and now you can see this, all 23 counties. You had the source IP computer targeting another IP in every one of our counties. And in that last slide, they had numbers that were votes that were allegedly stolen from every county, which added up to the 22,000, whatever. Well, there's some major problems with this. I'm going to tell you what they are. First off, if you look at the latitude and longitude of the hacked websites, those lat longs that are actually listed will plant you on top of your county courthouse in every one of Wyoming's 23 counties. The problem with that is I looked up, my staff looked up the IP addresses, and every one of Wyoming's 23 counties hosts their public-facing website out of state. So those target IPs, for example, this is from Albany County. That lat long that's listed would land you right on the Albany County Courthouse. But the truth of the matter is that lat long is in Manhattan, Kansas. So myth busted there. The other thing I want you to pay attention is to this date hack. Keep that in mind, 11/5/20. And this is just a reiteration of what I just told you about Kansas. Election day in 2020 was November 3rd. And we got dark. I didn't do that. Oh, there we go. So if you go back and you remember what I told you about how our process works. And we're just taking Albany County, and I won't go through all 23. But the date it was hacked was November 5th of 2020. And our election date was November 3rd. So remember when I told you on election night, we get the results emailed to us from the county. Then we call them up, say, we got your email. Is this what you sent? Yes, it is, on and on and on. Those numbers, we have all of those on election night. Every county was done and we had the results election night. Those numbers never changed. So for them to allege that they hacked it 2 days after I had the results in my office is not possible. Not possible. And those numbers did not change between that date and when we did our state canvassing. An example of disinformation. And I could go through every one of these and show you the lat long where it really is. It's out of state. And you can see the dates. Many of them, I think all but 3 are post November 3rd. So then another thing we want to look at is a trend analysis. If you want to look at things, the US representative vote, if you want to talk about somebody hacking an election in Wyoming, I think you might expect to see that those numbers would change slightly, but you can see that the vote share of the Republican and Democrat candidate for the US House of Representatives has stayed largely consistent over the last few election cycles. Same thing with the US Senate. Same thing with the presidential races. And the last thing I want to point out on all that is that Donald Trump won the state of Wyoming by 70%, the largest margin of victory that any state gave him in the United States, for one. And two, Joe Biden received less votes in 2020 than President Obama received in 2008, I believe it was. So the things that actually happened, the votes, don't even add up to a scintilla of evidence or even suspicion that Wyoming's elections were hacked, manipulated, or anything of the sort. So what are some things we want to do going forward? Because elections is in a new time. It's a contemporary time where we are under a microscope. And so we're going to continue to make improvements to our system. One of the things I want to tell you a little bit about is the pilot project I alluded to earlier. And we did that in Laramie, Natrona, Sweetwater counties. I participated the one here in Laramie County, and we did those, and they had 100% accuracy. And what makes it different from the pre and post that I told you about before is we're actually pulling real ballots and comparing them to the cast vote record that the machines produce. So as opposed to using a test deck of ballots, like I told you before, I can pull up randomly a ballot and compare it to what the machine, how the machine recorded it. And you just lay eyes on it back and forth, and with a team of people, and you say, okay, did the machine count an actual ballot correctly? And what you do is you get a statistically significant sample of ballots based on the election results, like how big was the spread between winner and loser. And I think we're going to use statewide races to measure that, but we're working with the University of Wyoming to develop a statistical model that will allow us to pull a sample of ballots where when we compare them, it'll give us a 99% confidence interval, which basically means that your election was solid. It was beyond reproach. Because we have to develop the model so that we know how many ballots to pull in every county so that it's statistically significant. So that's the big thing. This session, we have a few bills moving through, actually more than this. We've got some on campaign finance type issues as well. But we will continue to improve the process because time changes, things change, technology changes. And so we're going to continue to update our election code as we move forward so that when I come back, I can still assure you, as I've done today, that your Wyoming elections are fair and secure and conducted with the utmost So I always promise to get people out on time. They said I got to 1:15, 10 minutes early. So that's good, but I would be happy to take any questions if anybody has any. Scott in the back there.
We're a good company. My question is this: do you have anything good to say about the potential federal election reform bill?
That's a tough one. There are some things I think we could do. I mean, and I've toyed with this, and everybody out there, watching live, just recognize that this is just something I'm opening up for a dialogue or consideration. But, some of the things about a national election day where people have the day off, we make it a national holiday. We revere our right to vote. And so it's great to have safeguards. Like we just passed voter ID a year ago. We've got that. We're doing all kinds of things to make voting safer. We also want to make it as accessible as it can be. And so maybe a national holiday for voting so that everybody can get out and vote without having to worry perhaps about all the other things we have to take care of in our everyday lives on that particular day. Other than that, and there's maybe a few other things, the problem with the federal legislation is it makes us do things that, for example, offends our Wyoming Constitution. Mail-in voting is unconstitutional in Wyoming. And it would mandate that. It mandates just a lot of things that are indicative of the federal government's habit, it seemingly, to say, well, we've got a great idea. Now you go do this. Oh, by the way, this is how you're going to do it. Exactly. You go do this without really any regard to what is best, maybe a custom fit for the states, and especially Wyoming. We have a small state. That's why we can still have the county clerk's email, and we can call them and have a one-on-one conversation, recognize the voice on the other end of the line and say, here's what you sent me. Is this what it is? Yep. It all looks good. We have that connection, and that's kind of unique to Wyoming. The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, the decentralization of election processes across all 50 states is a safety feature. If you want to talk about not internal pressures, but nation states, if you want to talk about Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, nation states that might try to manipulate our elections, guess what? It's a lot harder to do that if you have all kinds of different systems in place in all 50 states. And so there's a huge security protection in the fact that we all do it differently. So I'm 99.9% opposed to the federal efforts to try to reform our. But there are some little nuggets there, but you can't ever get to the little nuggets because it's this all or nothing, it's just, that's kind of the way things are these days. Anybody else? Oh, come on. There's gotta be some. All right. Thank you very much.
Right, we did get out a few minutes early, so we appreciate that, Ed. Appreciate you being here. So thank you for all that great information. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We've got a great April luncheon coming up, so looking forward to seeing everybody there. And hopefully it's a very prosperous month for everyone. Have a great day.